So here's the 3 mistakes. So the things I want to give you now, we've done what is emotional safety, why is it important? So we're deep in that, yes? And now what are the mistakes that I see leaders and managers make all the time because they don't know better or don't know any different or haven't been trained or haven't learned in creating emotional safety with their people. Yeah. All right. So I'm hoping blue might be better today. That might be better. Okay. So they relate to people as their personality. Yeah. So one of the key mistakes is leaders and managers relate to their people as their personality. Now, what does that mean, Karen? How else would I relate to them? When we're in a situation where we've worked with someone for a while, and that could be a month or 5 years, it doesn't matter what period of time, we start to form a dynamic in that relationship. We start to understand and label them and put them in a box. Oh, they're a shy person, they're a confident person, they speak a lot, they don't speak much. We start to have these beliefs because we've experienced it over time, and we start to then decide how someone is. And people are doing it about us as well. And therefore, then we relate to that person as the story we're telling ourselves about their personality, about that person. And they're doing the same with us. So then we get into a dynamic and it becomes an unconscious pattern about how that relationship goes, unless we're awake, unless we're really present. Yeah. So this happens in our family relationships or our partner relationships as well. We start to get to know people and then start to decide this is how they are. And then especially over a long period of time, that starts to get ingrained in our brain about who they are. And then when they start coming towards us, that fires off. Yes. And we adjust ourselves to respond to that person in the way that we have decided they are. And then that limits who we can be with them. But most important, and as importantly, it limits who they can be with us. Because we've got them limited into or contained into a box of the label of their personality. Yeah. And so this is a really key piece for leaders and managers, because when we're in our day-to-day running, of course, we're just going to be relating to people the way that they're showing up for us. But to be an emotionally intelligent leader that creates spaces of emotional safety, we have to pull ourselves out of that relating to the personality and reacting off the personality and start to listen for more of that person, because we are not our personality. We are so much more than that. And often we don't even know it. So your people who are working with you, or if you're someone who wants to influence across, they don't even know that they're running their personality. They don't even know that they're running their limits. They have become conditioned themselves to believe that's who they are. And so you can serve people better as leaders and managers when you're listening beyond this. And we'll talk about how to do that in a minute. So that's the first piece. The first mistake we make is we relate to people as their personality. Is that new for you? It's might kind of feel a bit weird. Yes, totally. Yes, I'll be sharing the link for the Google story and the TED Talk. Kamini, thank you. So that's the first. Yeah. And you do this all over your life. And people do this to you as well. But we need to listen bigger than that. So just notice, maybe you might like to write some names down where you're stuck in the dynamic of relating to someone as their personality and didn't know it before. The next mistake is we don't separate. So I'm just checking the time. We don't separate the person from the behavior. We don't separate the person from the behavior. So we react to the behavior as if it is the person. So as human beings, we react to what's coming at us. So I'll just draw this quickly. the success continuum that I share in my work, this is by Paul J. Meyer, and some of you may have seen this, but it's a very powerful but simple tool. So when we're looking for more success, we want more, results drive our success. What drives our results is behavior. You know, what we do over time drives our results. If I go swimming every day, I'm going to have a different result than if I don't. Yeah. What drives our behavior is our habit of thought. So what I think drives my behavior. What drives my thoughts and my habits of thought is my conditioning. We've talked about that, values, belief systems, culture, environment, media, all of that. And the input over time drives our conditioning. You with me? So input drives conditioning, drives habit of thought, behavior, results. What happens is leaders and managers focus on behavior, trying to change behavior, retraining, reconvincing, going back and having the same conversation over and over again, feeling like this time it's stuck, but no, next week or next month, they're back doing what they've always done. And the challenge for leaders and managers is to understand they need to shift the habit of thought, because when we help people shift the habit of thought, they'll shift their own behavior. So, and that's then sustainable change, right? And so when we don't separate the person from the behavior, we're just reacting to this and trying to fix this. When we separate the person from the behavior, we start to get into the unconscious mind and start to have that influence there, which is then going to drive behavior change and sustain that. You with me? All right. So then the third one, let me know if you're with me, give me a thumbs up so I know that you got this, or ask me a question if you need clarification. And the third one is, the third mistake we make is we rely on judgment. Rather than being curious. Right? Sorry about that writing. I put that on the board and I wasn't planning to. So we rely on our judgment. Now, our judgment's important. Our discernment, our analysis, all of that's important. I'm not invalidating that. But when we rely more on that than our curiosity, that's when we're going to get stuck in creating emotional safety. Because we're judging people, we're not separating the person from their behavior, and we're relating to their personality. We're stuck doing the same thing over and over again. People aren't going to move further into a space of trust. Yep, they're going to feel judged. They're going to feel guarded. They know that you're judging them. They can feel it. You know when you're being judged, right? So even though we might say all the right things, people feel how we feel about them. Yeah. All right. So thumbs up. Excellent work. Thank you. So have a think about what mistakes you're making. Are you making any of these mistakes? And I imagine that you're making at least one of them, because we're all human and we do. So the most important thing is that you can acknowledge and say, you know what, I am doing this. Okay, great. Good news. That's actually really good news if you can do that. Rather than go, oh no, I don't think I do any of that. Somewhere in there you will be. Okay. So I invite you to write down at least one or circle one that you're doing. And then you might like to, while I'm rubbing this off, what's the impact that you're having? Remember, we're talking about 100% responsibility, and this is for people who are doing great work, the courageous leaders, which is you. What's the impact on making one of these mistakes? Take a moment to write that down.